right, Bitcoin accumulation country. It's that time of the week again. My name is Phil. This is the Fun with Bitcoin podcast, season 3 and episode 19. Hope everybody's having a great week. This was kind of this was an episode that was recorded kind of at the last minute. It was for the HackSprint. I was asked to host the wrap-up session. And of course, I can't say no. You know, you get to sit and listen to all these guys talk about these amazing projects that they're doing on Lightning. I can't say no to that. So, of course, graciously agreed. So we managed to pull together, 8 or 9 people, and it was a really, really great episode. Now, before we dive into the HackSprint wrap-up, we are just going to talk about some dollar cost averaging, and we're going to talk about Swan Bitcoin, who is my Bitcoin-only sponsor. And of course, for anybody who is interested in dollar cost averaging and who wants to be purchasing Bitcoin but doesn't want to be spending their time constantly watching the charts and listening to traders that they really have no idea whether these people are credible or not, and you kind of just want to put this in a passive sleep mode where you're simply just accumulating and hodling and then being able to transfer that Bitcoin out to your own private address. So if you're interested in doing that and that falls in your wheelhouse, then you are looking for Swan Bitcoin. With Swan Bitcoin, the 3 main takeaways are we can do automatic withdrawal from a bank account, automatic purchases of BTC. You can time them based on your when you receive your check. You can do it let's say once you can do it once a month, or you can do it per pay period as well. There's lots of options for you to be able to customize how you purchase. And you could automatically withdraw to your chosen address. So if you're interested in a Bitcoin-only platform that is doing the great work of helping onboard people, then you definitely want to check out Swan Bitcoin. I'm going to have the link to their website in the show notes. All right, without further ado, here is the wrap-up for the Lightning HackSprint. Thanks for joining us on the Fun with Bitcoin podcast. We're actually going over to the HackSprint. So this is going to be kind of like an iteration of the LightningNode roundtable, but once again, the HackSprint edition, where we've got these totally awesome developers from the Lightning world, absolutely pushing the envelope and seeing what we can do with this. And they're all together to talk about their projects. And as always, we're very fortunate to have Rootsall and Jeff Fulmo, and I'm gonna go down the. Cool. Hey guys, I'm gonna go down the list because we got like 7 or 8 people here. So yeah, we've got Rootsall, we've got Jeff Fulmo, we've got OpenNoms, and we also have the Twitter handle H1Cayman, and at Capitalist Dog, and Renee Picard joining us. So, guys, thank you very much. And Frankie for joining us. Thank you so much. So,
hi, everyone.
All right. So, well, before we get started, Rootsall and Jeff have a pretty good knowledge of the projects that were going on. So I'm going to kick it over to Rootsall to see if he can fill us in on what's happened this weekend.
Yeah, so the HackSprint, it was now a second HackSprint, and always the idea is to work on challenges. So the idea is just projects from the Lightning space. We know from the hack days, and also we see online that are showing stuff. Always welcomed here to participate as a project, and then every project can put up challenges and kind of ideas what they want to work on, and use the weekend to get some progress. It's not a hackathon where you have to be forced to deliver a prototype in the end. It's more like for existing projects or new projects, just to make some development, some progress, and then kind of exchange on it and present now in the wrap up maybe what was the outcomes of it. And that's why we're here. And I'm happy to give you an overview, but maybe Jeff can say a little bit more about the Fulmo and HackSprint in general.
Yeah, happy to do that. Where do I start? At the beginning, maybe? Well, I guess we started Fulmo as a research and development company focused on the Lightning Network around the time when it went to the mainnet, so a bit more than 2 years ago. And at the beginning, we really didn't know a whole lot about the Lightning Network, and we quickly found out that it's the same case for everybody else. So we started the Lightning Hack Days, which were gatherings or are gatherings that we do to get everyone together to learn more about the Lightning Network and to get some projects going. And this kind of developed over the course of 2 years now. And now we went online because last month we wanted to do a hack day. I mean, I get confused with the names myself. The hack day in Barcelona, and we were not allowed to travel anymore, so we moved it online. And this has been the second edition of the Lightning HackSprint, trying to get everyone together to work on existing open source Lightning projects, to just get some progress going and look at some issues together. And just sort of create a spirit of community and motivate some people to just take the weekend to work in Lightning in a very general sense. It doesn't necessarily mean that everybody had to do advanced stuff like, protocol development or prototypes of Jitrouting. Some people just took the weekend to maybe work on their Raspiblitz, set up their first node, or maybe like learn about channel management or read up on the Lightning Network a bit. So yeah, I'm also pretty excited to hear about some of the progress. I've been following along some of the conversations. We set up a MetaMos instance, which is pretty much an open source alternative to Slack. And we also have a Jitsi instance running, which was used for video calls and video kind of chat coordination. Jitsi is also an open source alternative to, well, most people we assume nowadays, I guess. And then we have a wiki. It's wiki.fulmo.org, where all the coordination is going on in regards to challenges and bounties. And I guess right now we just take a look at the projects that people worked on. We can always look at the wiki also later and check out what happened. And I think it's a pretty diverse array of projects, all from like some extensions to actually like some protocol improvements or potential protocol improvements. So I'm also quite excited to hear it like all in one bundle right now.
So how many projects do you did you have in this hack sprint?
Looking at the website, it was 16 projects that are on the wiki. So some of them are already in the second iteration. Some of them were there for the first hack sprint as well. Or really, like some of the projects have been coming to all the hack days as well. And they kind of started at the hack days and have been developing over the last 2 years. But there's also newcomers all the time, or projects that are sort of old but have really gotten the attention they needed, and they just kind of joined the hack sprint. But Christian is going to talk about that in a little bit as well.
Cool. Yeah, let's dive into it, man. There's 16.
Yeah,
there's 16.
I'm also excited because we have like a new thing today.
Yeah, okay. So there's not on every program, to be fair, a project, to be fair, was made big process, but at least people were there and offering for people to join there. So, but also not, sometimes it's really just ongoing projects that try to present themselves, see if somebody jumps in and likes to join. And sometimes nobody jumps in. This happens. But also sometimes new ideas get created. And this is a point where I like to hand over to René to talk or to tell us a little bit about the Jitrouting that turned into a very interesting idea, and then to turn into a prototype here, and give us a background there. What was the progress, and what is the idea of Jitrouting, and what was the progress made?
Okay, so the idea of Jitrouting is when I have some feedback in the okay. So the idea of Jitrouting is if you are a Lightning node and you receive an onion, you're supposed to forward the onion. Let's say I am supposed to forward the onion to you, Christian. Then it might happen that all the balance of this channel is on your side and I cannot forward the onion. What I would regularly do is I would send back an arrow to the initiator of the onion, and he could try a different path. With Jitrouting, what I do is I interrupt the routing process and I try if I can rebalance my channels in a way that I send money on another channel that I have in a circle through you back to me so that I have enough liquidity that I am able to forward the package. And I did some research up here in Norway, and it turns out that when you do this Jitrouting, the success rate of payment goes up, the network communication that is overall needed goes down, and the information that is being leaked about channel balances also goes down. So this is a really great algorithm. And that motivated me to say, hey, we really need this in Lightning now. And I wanted to use the HackSprint to put it into Lightning. And one important thing that you have to do in order to be able to do that is you have to know what your channel partners have for a balance. And what we did right now is we extended the Lightning Network protocol that a node can always send a query to their peers and say, hey, please share your balance information with me. And then you get the reply and you know what balance they have, and then you can find a rebalancing circle. So we actually started to spec out a protocol for sharing this information, and we implemented a prototype. It's 460 lines of Python code as a C-Lightning plugin. Huge kudos to Christian Decker, who has developed the plugin infrastructure for C-Lightning and who also provided the ability to send custom Lightning messages via the plugin API. So that made it really easy for us. And the main challenge for us was actually speccing everything out and flipping bits and bytes. So it's not a prototype for full Jitrouting, because for that we also need the fee-free onions, which is a totally different challenge, but it's the first really important step that a node can say, hey, I want to rebalance for, let's say, 50,000 Satoshis. Please give me all channels back that you would be willing to help me rebalancing 50,000 Satoshis. So we're not asking for exact balances, but we're just saying, hey, please give me those channels on which you would be willing to help me rebalancing. Yeah, and that's working. We finished it 1 minute before 8.
Yeah, just quickly, I thought we had a shortly drop out from the live stream. So maybe if you can, the last 30 seconds, you can repeat. Sorry for that.
Okay, so what was the last 30 seconds? I think I made a shout out to Christian Decker, who provides a great API that you don't have to patch a LightningNode implementation, which is much harder, but we can just send out custom Lightning messages via the plugins. And the main work that we then did is actually just speccing out everything. So we have actually two things. We have a fork right now of the plugins repository where we provide this plugin that has this functionality. And I will shortly make, we worked in the Google Documents, but we have 2 pages of extensions for the bowls that actually specify how we're sending out the messages that others can then implement so that nodes can share this information. And we don't share the exact balance information, but we just make this query of saying, hey, I want to rebalance, let's say 50,000 Satoshis. Please tell me on which channels you would be willing to forward 50,000 Satoshis, so that you could help me in rebalancing.
So I do have a question about that. I just want to know, is in terms of the user experience, is this something that is expected to eventually be like automated in the background so that the user doesn't initiate it? Or is it going to be like a selectable option when you set up a node or something like that, where you choose to enable that to be a node that chooses to help as a, like as a balancing node?
Yes. So routing is something that eventually should take place within a second, right? So we cannot expect somebody to get pinged of being like, hey, do you want to help? And then type in an answer and say, oh, yes, that would be nice. So, I mean, this should obviously happen in the background.
Okay.
The way how we spec it out for the bowls now is that it's completely optional, right? So I make the query to you and I ask you, hey, which channels do you want to rebalance? You can decide to not answer to this query. You can decide to send back fewer channels, or you can decide to send back wrong information and more channels, right? So this is for nodes who want to protect their privacy and who don't want to get probed by such a query. They can basically act randomly, or they can just drop the query. right? I mean, I cannot check the information that you have anyway, right? After you send back the information, your node might already be changed due to other routing requests that you're fulfilling. But the way how we designed it is it's fault tolerance due to wrong information, and it's completely optional. So it will probably be configurable in your Lightning node. Like if it's being implemented on a Lightning node, you would probably have the option, do you want to engage in these fee-free rebalancing things? And if yes, maybe you want to have some parameter where you obfuscate the information because you don't want to share everything every time. But yeah. I should say that sharing this information seems like a huge privacy breach, because basically I am asking you, hey, on what channels do you have liquidity? But the thing is, every time when you send a regular payment, I already learned so much about channel balances, because everywhere where the payment fails, I actually know the entire balance on the other side of the channel, right? So every time I make a payment, it's already like leaking information. And that is what I said in the very beginning. We simulated this, and doing this actually leaks less information on average than just our regular probing that we currently do. So that's pretty fair.
So when I understood it right, like you're sharing this extra information just with your neighbor nodes, right? So so it's not that you letting the whole network know your liquidity on the channels. It's more like the nodes you have the channels with, you share a little bit more information to coordinate better, right? So it's yeah, and I really like the approach.
So I mean, I know already my channels, all of them. So I know on which channels I could attempt a rebalancing. And for those channels where I could attempt a rebalancing, I ask them about their channels and say, hey, what do you have? Right? Because then I already know like a good fraction of the network where I can probably find a circular onion without trying too much. Because if I would start probing all the time, this would interrupt the routing process for too much time. Whereas if I just get the information back, well, then I can rebalance on this like subgraph, and then everybody is happy, hopefully.
All right. Any further questions, Quinnigrus? So on that one, or we should to next project?
I'd actually do just one quick question. Was about I'm sorry, because you mentioned C Lightning. Is this going to be is this already available to be worked on in LND? Did you already mention that? I'm super sorry.
Yeah. So the thing is, we did both. We worked on a document that specifies this in a bold style, where we later want to also like really work on putting this into the bolds. And then of course the LND engineers can implement this in LND. But currently the code is only working on C Lightning. I mean, this is the usual process also with bits, right? You make a proposal in the like specification form as a text document, and then you provide a reference implementation, usually for one of the implementations. And then during discussion phase, the others would probably also create a patch for their implementation. So, I mean, this is still work in progress. As I said, this is only the first part of sharing this information, which is a protocol change, right? Then computing the rebalancing opinion, that is something I can then locally do and can actually execute this. But I mean, this is, as I have written this in the challenge on the wiki, it's two parts. The first one is sharing the information. The other one is doing the extra rebalance. And we decided that we wanted to work on the first part or I suggested to work on the first part on this weekend. And as I said, 1 minute before the live stream, we finished the first part. Though I also have to say, we probably have to clean up the code a little bit more before we really like give it to other people for review, because it was very hacky in the end. But I mean, it's working.
Man, I think it's absolutely amazing. I don't think that people really appreciate the groundwork that's being done, you know, on L2, and this is really, anyways, this is really cool. Thank you very much, by the way, for for coming on and sharing.
You're very welcome, and thanks for all the other great projects. And I will stay actually. I'm very excited to hear what the others did.
Cool.
Okay.
Rootsall, who do we got?
Okay,
man?
so yeah, of course, I can report from the Raspiblitz, because that's where I'm always active. But because I have to going around a lot, my programming time was a little bit limited. But we got some nice thing done. We did introductions there into the Raspiblitz 1.5 release. So because this was released, the final release was done for Raspiblitz 1.5 for the HackSprint, and we were able to give introductions there and help people a little bit on the update side. So this was quite good support work, and a lot of people that joined or not a lot of people, but some people that joined really used that opportunity of the weekend to update their nodes. Also, we were running some more tests to work on an issue to make the public IP discovery a little bit more decentralized so that we can use the local router for that, even though we are going for the future a little bit more into the Tor kind of by default way for the Raspiblitz. There should still be the option when you choose to run your node on a public IP that you have from your ISP that you don't need to call any external servers to find out your IP, so that this is kept locally and to reduce a dependency outside. Then there is we did experimental install script for Faraday. That's the one service that was released by Lightning Labs to help you to better manage your node. So there's LND manage already on the Raspiblitz, but to give you more options, we also wanted to see if we can get Faraday running, at least the basic install script, not finished yet, but started. And also OpenOMS did a install script for Thunderhub that was presented in a self-organized session. It's a little bit similar to RTL, helping you to manage your node through a web interface, but a little bit different kind of focus there. So if OpenOMS wants to tell us a little bit more on that, and maybe what would be great, OpenOMS, are you there? Show us the joinmarket integration or the joinmarket ease of use that you were working on during the HackSprint.
Oh, yes, thank you. So, yes, Thunderhub did a good impression. I mean, it's a bit different from RTLs. It is only focusing on LND, so there is no like C-Lightning and planned Eckler support, but it does support key send messages already. So you can, eventually you should be able to like chat it like other people using Juggernaut and similar things, and it also shows the UI in a different way. So it's just a good option to have. So try to share my screen now, and please let me know if it works. It should be the entire screen showing now.
Yeah, I see it.
And I will just click on this little kind of excerpt of this write-up which I will put into the joinmarket tutorial running with the Raspiblitz. So what we achieved there is that we could make the dependencies work. So the actual joinmarket graphical interface, which is made by the joinmarket team, is able to run from the Raspiblitz without we would need to install it on Windows, for example. I mean, it's already worked. Obviously, it's quite native on Linux and on Mac as well. But for Windows to work, we need to install a little extension called Xmeng, which is an X server which does allow for the graphical bits to appear through PuTTY and like from the terminal, basically. So once this little program is installed, and it just takes a couple of kilobytes, 95 kilobytes, and a couple of clicks to install with defaults. Just need to start PuTTY, which most people use to connect to the rest of this terminal already. And I've preset these settings, because it can be saved. You just need to put the Raspiblitz IP, the port 22, which is all written here, and then you can set up the default username, which is joinmarket in this case. And what's an extra step is that you need to allow for this X11 forwarding, which is the actual graphical interface forwarding. So once this is all set up, just go to open, and the PuTTY terminal opens. And I will use my password B to log into the joinmarket user. And now with the automation we've done, there is the tutorial is linked here already, which gives you further clues to how to use joinmarket from the command line. And then the virtual environment is activated, and we are in the actual directory where the scripts can be run. So from here, I just write this in, that Python joinmarket qt py. This is starting this Python interface, and press an enter. And it shouldn't take long for it to start. And there we go. So this is the, not that well known, but very useful joinmarket qt GUI, which can be used now. And then now I can load a wallet, for example. This is just a test wallet of mine. It's on mainnet, so it's empty, but happy to share how it works. So it is just reading the addresses directly from Bitcoin Core, and then there we go. We already have the 5 mixed depth appearing, which is all described in the join market tutorial, and we will need to send to fund this wallet on these addresses. Just to note that this copy paste here will not work, because this clipboard is actually on the Raspiblitz. This is not the clipboard of the Windows computer where we're seeing this, but we can use a QR code. So if we would fund this wallet from a mobile phone, for example, it can be easily scanned like that. And yeah, all of the settings, and we can pay with CoinJoin from here, and we can use every functionality of join market except the yield generator, which is still need to be used from the command line. So yeah, if we would have any funds here, they would list here, and we could unfreeze or freeze them, unfreeze them, and then exercise some coin control there. So that is it really. So what appears here, I could just make this appear. The same wallet could be worked with in the terminal as well. So this is really just an extension of the join market running on our Raspiblitz. So I think it's quite handy and works on every major operating system. So yeah, that was a quick demonstration of it. And what we have done, any more things? Yes, I mean, this is just some help for a lot of people. It is not known that we have included these little shortcuts for the to be able to call the menu directly without waiting for the automatic start. So we'll include this into FAQ, and also would like to again come back to this TORDIS-TX function, which is the contribution of 21 is enough, which is a little function where you can just type it into the terminal and paste a raw transaction in a hex format, which is either coming from the join market, offers it automatically, and asks if you want to broadcast to the network yourself, or you want to copy paste and use this TORDIS-TX, for example, or you can copy it from Electrum Wallet as well. And what it does, it just pushes it through the Blockstream APIs, through Tor, and then into the network. So this is it's a privacy feature. So the sending of the transaction cannot be triangulated to your node and your IP address this way. Yeah, I think that's what I'd like to show. So thank you.
OpenOms, it's very interesting. I was actually trying to figure out because I went to Thunderhub.io, and it looks to me kind of like a backend management interface. But what you're explaining here really sounds like a much more of a privacy feature.
Thunderhub? No. Thunderhub is, so we were speaking about join market now, right?
Yeah.
And
sorry, I got confused.
We were speaking about this little TORDIS-TX function, which can be used from the Raspiblitz command line, right?
Yeah.
So Thunderhub is a web management user interface like RTL, right? It's just a different thing. So I cannot really demonstrate that now on this computer.
Oh no, that's okay.
You will be able to set it up yourself and just open it on the port, 2001 or 2008 or whatever you are setting up, and you will be taken to an interface which is screenshotted here. So yeah, it looks like this. So it is again, has all the functions which you would want to do with your Lightning node. If you have any questions, we'll probably integrate it to the Raspiblitz menu for the next version. But there are a couple of things. It's under development, as everything is, right? So but it is a very nice project.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I'm definitely going to give it a try.
Right. So, Richard, if you'd like to continue with the any other things which have been going on the Raspiblitz or connected to other projects which we've been working on?
Yeah, I think basically we have the most Raspiblitz stuff covered. So you were showing three things on one side. Is the Thunderhub we were working on to integrate as an alternative management for RTL maybe in the future. Then you were showing the joinmarket where you can now use also from Windows the Qt, the graphical interface. So this was kind of the outcome also from the HackSprint, and also we had in the end this little feature we had in the 1.5 release now to send your transactions over the Blockstream API over Tor if you want to do that, and if it's that on adds a little bit privacy options there. Right. So I think we covered all on the Raspiblitz. So we can continue to another project or another pair of projects that we're working on, and that was the Lnbits and the quickening. And I heard Hikaman was kind of working on this. So jump in now and show your stuff.
So yes, I worked the weekend on the quickening. I'm not sure if everybody knows the POS. It's a hardware device. You can accept invoices. I think it's used in the room 77, and the idea for me was to connect it to Lnbits and run Lnbits on a dedicated Raspberry Pi to have a tool to manage different devices, like the point of sale, and manage the wallets behind the point of sale. In today's application, you need to configure via Arduino to create and have the macaroons for example, from your Raspiblitz on it. And I think this is, it's relatively insecure. And with Lnbits, you have the chance to create wallets for different devices. And here I have an instance of Lnbits on a dedicated Raspberry Pi, and the idea is to add an extension to manage, for example, the point of sale devices, and maybe later some other devices, which like a vending machine or ATMs or something like this.
Yeah. So if I understand it right, it's normally if you connect the POS there with the Raspiblitz, it's kind of just one POS and your Raspiblitz, and normally you can just receive, so there's not a danger there that people can remove funds with it. But if you want to manage more than one and have maybe multiple stores, but you just want to run one Raspiblitz or one node, so Lnbits can help you out to make accounts, right? And then you build an extension there to then connect the multiple POS systems, correct?
Yes, this is the idea. But another point is to configure the devices via the Lnbits interface. There you need to add all the keys, macaroons or something like this. With the Arduino, you need to compile it and flash it. And I'm sure not everyone. This is not easy for everyone. It would be easier if you have only here an extension. Here you connect it to a wallet, and via one click you configure the device. For example, via Bluetooth or maybe Wi-Fi, or you connect the POS to the Raspberry Pi with Lnbits on it. And I think this could be a very interesting solution for if you have a bar with different POS devices. You don't have a full node in the back end, but you can use here with Lnbits, you can use different Lightning backends or Lightning implementations, and you have only the Raspberry Pi device as hub for the which abstract and the functionality of Lightning. And well, I think this is a nice idea. I want to play around a bit. I have some ideas I have written down in a repo here regarding this extension. I think Ben is also working on the Bluetooth stuff. I will work in the next weeks on it. to have a full working solution for the M5 stack with the POS and maybe the do-it-yourself POS device. But I see also other devices like the general ESP32 or other M5 devices. And the idea is to play around with it and let's see what if someone has some ideas for another device, just let me know. Open some issues. Maybe I overseen some fundamental issues here. What I did the weekend.
No, I think it's absolutely amazing, because that's definitely something that's missing. And if we actually expect people to be taking this on as as a solution, as a retail solution, we have to be able to support the multiple POSs. So it's totally awesome.
Yeah, this is all the whole setup here.
Nice.
Actually, this here on the Raspberry Pi is the Lnbits. It's connected with OpenNode, because I had some issues with my Raspiblitz, and here's the device. And the next step is to connect it physically and flash the POS from the Raspberry Pi, maybe via Wi-Fi or with USB and configured via Bluetooth. Ben has some cool ideas. I have some ideas. We need to bring everything together and go. Maybe on the next HackSprint we have a solution here and a running prototype.
That's fantastic, man. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, you're welcome. And thank you all for the organization, everything here. It's a very nice event. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Very cool.
Thank you. Bye. Thanks.
So I think we can jump to the next project, right?
Yeah.
So we had the Send Many app project. So by Fusion 44, I don't see Fusion 44 in the chat. Say something if you're there, just in case I don't see you. But okay, the outcome so far, as I was seeing, worked on some issue fixing. So last time on the last HackSprint, we connected the Send Many app to the Raspiblitz. So on the version 1.5, it's now included. You can connect the Send Many app. What's the Send Many app? Is a little bit like a mobile wallet, from a Zap, for example. But it gives you also the possibility to send messages with the key. If you have key send enabled, it also gives you the possibility now to really chat then from your mobile app directly. So that is connected to your Raspiblitz. So last time we made those chats, and this time I think the mission of Fusion 44 was a little bit to clean up code, to fetch invoices, messages in the background, to optimize on that, and to get into this notifications thing a little bit more. So it was more like a little bit housework, but it's also welcome to do this during a HackSprint, to clean up stuff. Sometimes you go fastly forward and you want to get to a prototype, and sometimes you use your weekend to just clean up stuff, make stuff more reliable. And I think this was his part here on the Send Many app. Then we had the Zap read.
You went on mute, Christian.
Yeah. I think you went on mute.
Yeah, sorry for that. I got confused here with my browser windows. Sorry for that.
No worries.
So we had the Zap read. Let me go back here. Right. And it's a little bit like a Reddit idea, like a social media site that you can post stuff, and then for upvoting and downvoting, there's some sets, paying some sets involved. So this is programmed in .NET, so with C#, and the outcome of the project was working on was a setup demonstration project on GitHub about the LNURL integration, I think, and did a little bit more research and identified issues that would be nice to fix, and maybe people can jump in on the next HackSprint and a little bit check out what middleware can be used. So this is definitely a nice project to check out. It's online, zapread.com. So if you want to give it a test, how it's working already. And again, if you like this website and you like to improve it, I think they will be around on the next HackSprint also to jump in there. Then we had the Tor IP tunnel service. This is also started on the last hack sprint. So on the last hack sprint, we found a way to tunnel. So the idea is, just to give you a quick recap, is that I have my Raspiblitz here, and maybe I want to run it securely, privately behind Tor. That's a good way to do, and maybe more and more default in the future. But there are some devices out there that I cannot connect very easily through Tor. So, for example, a POS system will be very, very hard on these little devices. There is no Tor running. You cannot install a Tor client there. They need a ClearNet IP. Or if you want to pair your mobile wallet, that it's very hard on some phones to build Tor into those wallets, or have a Tor proxy running and configure it all together. So the idea is more like, it would be nice that when I run my Raspiblitz behind Tor, that I can rent a service or set up a service where I get a ClearNet IP from another server running, and can use this IP and Tor, this IP and port address that is then forwarded a little bit like a VPN to my Tor node, so that I can to this devices to the outside I have an IP, but even this bridge is just forwarding it into the Tor network. This is the idea of this tunnel service. And and on the last time we had a prototype where we found a way how to make this work if you want to set it up with your own server. But this is maybe not also very easy for everybody that's running a Raspiblitz. So there was the idea, it would be nice to have a little bit more easy solution, maybe a kind of store or a website where you can go and just click that service and pay it with some satoshis, and then have it running and configure it very easily, for example, with your Raspiblitz. And Frankie was working on this after the last hack sprint, and kind of finished a first prototype during this hack sprint. So, and I would very like hand over to him to show you what he created.
Okay, yeah, I guess you already covered everything that I wanted to say to introducing why and what we have been doing, but I think you did a very good explanation. Tor IP tunnel service, as you already indicated, this was a part of the last hack sprint, and I have a screenshot here. I hope you can see it from the discussions between OpenOMS and MZ. Basically, hey, here is the solution, great. And OpenOMS created a tutorial which kind of also had the description how to make a permanent service that will also work after a reboot. And so the technical things, I think, were there. The question was just how kind of do we scale this? How do we make this easy? How do we interface with this? And I have been working on something to get the Python Django environment ready for Lightning services. Anyway, I had this in mind and have been working on it, and I thought it would be a kind of proof of concept to also get this Tor2 IP shop online. And I spent some time in the last 4 weeks and also yesterday and today on this. And basically, I have a proof of concept. It's not the prettiest, but it's working. And my idea is just in the end that I have I have a shop that's running at shop.ip2t.org, so ip.org, and you can go there if you want and check it out. Basically, there's the concept of the shop, and there's a concept of hosts, and the hosts are the devices that host bridges, and the bridge is kind of one TCP port on ClearNet forwarded to one Tor onion address on one port. So basically, if I want to connect, for example, from a ESP32 to a gRPC of my LND, for example, I would need that. I would purchase a ClearNet TCP port that will end up on my LND, for example. And one host can obviously host multiple bridges. One host has 65,000 ports, so in theory, that many bridges. And the idea is also that one shop can handle multiple hosts. So one person has one shop to host maybe 10 bridge hosts, but it could even be that several people just use the same host, but different people spin up hosts in different areas, data centers or whatever. And the proof of concept kind of works that here I have my host running. I have Tor bridges I'm offering for a great price of 1 Satoshi or 1,000 millisatoshi. And basically, what the user at the moment sees is basically, I can purchase a Tor bridge here. He has to include a Tor onion address together with the port. maybe add something like Lightning, HackSprint, and then exactly. So basically, create a purchase order which triggers a Lightning invoice to be created. I think the stream had a little bit of lag, so I'm not rushing too much. Basically, I have an order that needs to be paid. I have a bridge that's still in initial status. The real Lightning invoice is unpaid, and I'm not sure if somebody's quicker than me in paying this. I'll just have my phone, paid it. Take a moment to register, I guess. Yeah, so basically the invoice changed to paid. Purchase is paid, and the bridge went from initial to pending to active, and now I have an active bridge connection. Just copying the IP from here. So what I can do now on ClearNet, normal browser, port, that's Demogods.
Privacy is a purchase. I like it.
Yeah, of course, Tor is involved. It might be a little delay. Maybe I messed up a typo here on the port. I don't know. But So basically, here's the Tor page over a ClearNet IP address, and of course, what we actually have in mind for this is like more integrating this as a service. So what's also possible here is to view this information over an API. So basically, what I can retrieve when I have an ID for something like this is okay, my bridge is active. This comment I've entered here, and basically when will this bridge expire? So basically the idea is you buy a bridge maybe for 100 Satoshi for 24 hours, and then you just extend for another 24 hours. This is great because maybe the host goes down or something else changes, and then you don't really put up front payment. It's maybe for 1 month, a week, or a year or whatever, and that's really nice. You can also switch quickly if something happens, and the idea maybe would be that we maybe could actually include this in the Raspiblitz as an automatic subscription, that you automatically just enter in the menus. I want to use this. Okay, yeah, sure. I'm paying like 100 Satoshi per day, and then I can connect my POS or my iPhone to the app or whatever. And that's the quick presentation on the shop.ipt.org. Yeah.
Frankie,
Any
man.
question?
That's pretty cool stuff there. And I think we also have on that front like a small announcement or actually a bounty to give away. That would be a good time to jump in, Capitalist Dog.
Yeah, I saw this project on the challenges board last time, and I thought immediately this would be a great service to sell for the reasons that were already mentioned. And glad to see Frankie this time around put something like this together, and it's kind of moving in that direction where anybody can just spend a few sats and get a ClearNet IP for their service. So awarding a 1 million sat bounty for this, and glad to help move Tor along. This is something that we've been researching for Hackerwallet, which idea of Hackerwallet is largely around commercial ventures. So providing tools to business owners that maybe want to protect their anonymity is going to be pretty big going forward. So glad to put a bounty out for this and have somebody build something that people can start using.
Cool. Thank you very much.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, congratulations on the first bounty claim.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, I will.
1 million sats.
I will connect with MZ and OpenORMs how we split that up and how we proceed with that. I think we can also have some discussions on whether maybe something's missing from your point of view or how you would integrate it. I don't think we have to wait for the next HackSprint, but it might be something for the next HackSprint.
Yeah, I think putting polish on something like this, the concept is in place. The polish around providing the service can come pretty quickly. Yeah, so I've got definitely some ideas how it could be used in a service type setting. So groundwork's there. So.
Cool. Thank you very much. I'd just like to add that this is open source. Of course, it's completely open source. So everybody can kind of now set up such a shop. It's still a prototype, so don't rush too quick there. But everybody can set up a shop, and then you can kind of pool together with people that have servers running and then set those or use those servers for delivering bridges and coordinate. So this is and then we want to add this to the Raspiblitz in the future, so that it's very, very easy for you to once your node is funded with Bitcoin and you have some channels running, and then you want to connect your devices, we can offer very quickly to go to one of those shops, pick one of those server bridges, pay for it, and have a little bit like subscription on there that you of course can cancel any day. So but then giving you the service. And please don't forget, we're combining here very, very nice privacy technology. We have your node is running behind Tor, so the service doesn't know who's exactly there that is forwarded to. So normally, if we have communication with the LND APIs, it's encrypted with the TLS certificate. So there's even the service cannot snoop on the traffic that it's forwarding. And paying it with Lightning is exactly even also giving you the privacy on the payment. So on every kind of step of the way, I think it's very privacy preserving, and you just pay and you get the service. And I think I very much like this and want to also to see this on the Raspiblitz soon.
Oh yeah, I absolutely think it's remarkable. I mean, this is it's just really phenomenal to see all the different pieces that are coming together, in order to build out this ecosystem. It's, just a lot of this stuff I would have never thought of doing, and it's just absolutely amazing to see it all come together and all work.
Cool. And to make it work, we need a variety of LightningNode implementations out there. So we come to the what a segue. So we get to the segue, not segue. So we get to the Rust LightningNode implementation. I think Maxime is there.
Hi. Yes, I'm here.
Perfect. Go ahead and show us the progress. You started on the last HackSprint, so and let us know what happened maybe in between and what you were working on the weekend.
Yeah, well, basically the truth is the project has started on the first Lightning HackSprint, and that's I'm really grateful to you guys that you actually created this event, and it attracted some attention already. This week we were planning to upgrade the current state of the project. So what happened since the last HackSprint is that I was able to do a pull request into Rust Lightning library, which underlies the project to adopt the latest Rust Bitcoin. Because there was a difference in versioning system between Rust Bitcoin, it moved forward, and Rust Lightning, which used the previous version of Rust Bitcoin, and it created some challenges. So I moved the PR, and it was accepted. And over the weekend, I was able to upgrade the LightningNode to use this latest version of Rust Lightning. However, there is another thing which is a bit complicated, and actually that have taken the most of the time. The point of the Rust node we are developing is to make it really modular and upgradable. And the way the Rust Lightning library made, it's more like a toolkit. Basically, if you need to set up a Rust Lightning node that does nothing but Lightning, the proper Lightning, it works well. But when you need to split the Lightning protocol into separate layers and modules, as we need, for instance, we have guys here, I would like very much to hear on the progress of DLC on Rust Lightning, but I expect that they met the same problems that we met when we were doing RGB. And it is the reason why we started doing the node. It's not only Rust Lightning node, it's also a way of separating different modules of Lightning protocol, like removing the network into a separate layer. We have connections and we have encryption, and this protocol, it can be actually used outside of the Lightning, and then build commitment transactions and Lightning channel transactions as a kind of as with a factory where you can add different functionality to the transaction and not being limited to the structure that is dictated by the current state of the Lightning network only. So while we were doing this modular, it actually had required us to reorganize other parts of the Rust Lightning library. So, for instance, we are using multi-threading very much, and each peer basically has its own threads. And this weekend, we came to conclusion that basically it should be a thread for reading and thread for writing to each peer. And they will be working independently from each other. And while we were able to do that at the level of LightningNode quite easily, we met some problems with underlying layers, with the Rust Lightning, for instance, where the reading and writing part can be basically separated from each other. So the most of the work have gone into some refactoring of underlying libraries, and I'm using the LNPBP library we are creating with the LNP Lightning Network Protocol module to separate these parts of the Lightning Network protocol into quite well-defined modules like transport layer, peer layer.
Yeah, we're here. Just want to wait.
Yeah, that's all basically.
Okay, cool. Maybe then we jump right to the other project, executing the DLCs on Rust Lightning. Please give us a little bit of introduction. I think not everybody is familiar with this concept. So is somebody there from
Sure thing. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Hi all, I'm Nedav. I was on the team working on trying to get discrete log contracts, or DLCs, implemented on Lightning channels. And for a bit of background, a discrete log contract is a simple Bitcoin Oracle contract. So essentially you have some DLC oracles who are just publishing Schnorr signatures of events. And the model goes, they just broadcast. They don't know about their users. They don't know how their users are using their signatures. They just have some event or some events, I guess. And then they broadcast signatures of what has happened in these events. And anyone who's listening can then create Bitcoin contracts on these using a fancy property of Schnorr signatures. That if you have pre-committed R values, which we require all oracles to do in this scheme, so essentially for every event, an oracle has a pre-committed nonce for every event. And then just from public information, so the public key to that nonce and the public key of the oracle, just from that, and then the possible messages, you can compute essentially, if the signature that the oracle is going to put out eventually is treated as a private key, you can compute the public key associated with it and then use it in your Bitcoin contract. So essentially, to simplify things a little, say there's an oracle that says rain if it rains in my city today and no rain otherwise. I can compute the point associated with the signature for rain without knowing what the signature is. And then I can create a contract that says only someone, like a 2 of 2 or an addition or something like that, only someone who knows, who can sign for my key and who can sign for the signature can spend this. And that's essentially how you do these discrete log contracts. So this is something that I've been working on at SharedBits along with other people, including some folks over at Crypto Garage, for a while now on chain. And we took the opportunity of this hack sprint to try and get progress towards moving some of this stuff off chain. And so what we ended up doing was essentially in Rust Lightning work towards trying to get some discrete log contracts on commitment transactions, which essentially required that we refactored Rust Lightning quite a bit. As I'm sure that we did at least some work that was similar, or maybe in parallel to Maxim's work, to kind of make it so that not only HTLCs live on commitment transactions. We have kind of more generalized kind of set up now in our branch of Rust Lightning that should soon allow us to put, for example, a DLC funding output on a Lightning node. And I know that there's a proposal out there by Renee and another person for doing something like this to enable, I think it was like Rainbow Network channels or something along these lines. But yeah, essentially we were looking to have some interesting outputs on commitment transactions is what the project more or less turned into. And we don't have anything done yet, but a lot of progress has been made on refactoring the Rust Lightning library, primarily by Antoine.
All right, it sounds okay. It's a new concept a little bit to me. So personally, I have a little bit tried to get into it. So, but oracles on so you how do you would communicate? So use the gossip network there, or how would you kind of build a side network?
So the actual communication of the signatures from the oracle is something of every oracle could kind of do its own thing. At Lnbits, we're working on some oracles that you actually pay for signatures and such over the Lightning Network, so that you still keep the anonymity that you would get in like an ideal broadcast sense. But also you have the nice, we're using like, I think it's called like the paid standard or something, payment atomic information decryption. So essentially you send the information that is needed, for the signature and all these things encrypted with the payment pre-image. And then someone approaches the oracle over the Lightning Network and, through routing and such, and pays for their signature. I know that other people are working on, or I think long term, we do want something like a gossip network for these oracle signatures. But in the short term, we're just kind of doing like an API with Lightning paywall, more or less.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, no, I was just going to add, because oracles are, I find it such a, kind of like an esoteric topic. But I always, if I'm understanding it correct, and by the way, I totally think it's amazing what you guys are doing. But if I understand it correctly, like, are we doing anything with off-chain data? Like, is that what's happening, where an off-chain event occurs, which makes it possible for something on-chain to happen, or
yes,
vice versa? Is that okay?
Yeah. So essentially what we have, maybe I could explain this a little better. So you have some server oracle, say, that's keeping track of something happening off-chain, say like in the real world or something like this. And then also off-chain, they're broadcasting signatures of these events. And specifically, they're broadcasting Schnorr signatures with pre-committed R values. So like a specific type of signature that gives us some nice properties. And those properties include that we can create Bitcoin contracts for these events, or for these signatures specifically, without knowing what the signatures are, because we can kind of get these like points or public keys associated with each possible outcome. Mm-hmm. And then the second thing is that with these pre-committed R values, if an oracle ever says two different things, so if they ever equivocate, is I think the technical term, then you can actually derive the oracle's private keys, like their signing keys, from two signatures of the same event. Two different signatures of two different messages for what was supposed to be one event. Because it's only going to be one event because they've pre-committed to this R value. And so essentially they've done like nonce reuse. And so what this gives us kind of a built-in protection where the oracle stakes some funds in like a pay-to-pub key or pay-to-pub key hash on the blockchain with their signing keys. And, everyone can verify that the oracle has that money publicly like viewable. And then if they ever equivocate, then users can steal the oracle's funds and signal to everyone else that the oracle has lied and equivocated. And there's some other protections that are pretty cool too, but that's kind of the main fancy built-in one. And just generally the cool thing about discrete log contract oracles and kind of the model there is that it's very privacy centric. The Oracle should never learn about its users, and they should never. So they're, for example, say there's like a price feed and they're publishing signatures of the price. They do it in such a way that users can construct whatever contracts they want surrounding that price, and the Oracle doesn't know what kinds of contracts. Is it futures, options, skewed things, leveraged, all these different kind of like contracts that you can build as a client, where the server, the Oracle, is just broadcasting like price signatures, and they don't know how they're being used or anything like that. And also they're composable. So it's essentially the goal is to minimize trust as much as possible, and then make sure that it stays amongst trustworthy sources, more or less, as opposed to some other approaches that you'll see where people try and do all sorts of fancy shelling point stuff and distribute your trust amongst untrustworthy sources. But many of them, stuff like that, we think that you want to distribute and minimize your trust amongst trustworthy sources. And one way of making sure people are trustworthy is making sure that they have like funds at stake and various other things like that.
Thank you very much, by the way, for explaining that, because I know that I know that oracles can be a pretty confusing topic, so I definitely appreciate it.
Totally.
Okay, so I can quickly cover we're getting to the end of the list of the projects. So we have the Lightning donation tool for Ruby gems. This was done by Boomi. I think not here in the core, so I just try to give you quickly an idea. So as you know, in development, as a developer, you rely on a lot of libraries you use. So this is all the big dependency tree that is out there. And so the idea is like, how maybe is it possible to give back a little bit to this project, to donate them. And this is a prototype that's developed to check out your Ruby dependencies, and then kind of check if one of those projects has a configured donation address with an LNURL, and then kind of splitting a donation between all possible kind of dependencies that are there. So nice thing to support developers. I can always support the idea to support developers. It's always good. So very, very appreciate prototype here. So, but to put it into standard would be interesting to see maybe in the future if somebody has some information where this prototype goes. Very, very interested in that. Okay, and then I think we had some people working very actively together with Christian Decker in the C-Lightning plugins channel, and I think somebody's here from the hardware wallet integration or some other HSM secret generation. Please let us know and give us a little bit more the details.
Yeah, we are here. I think that Mitchell is also here. Are you there?
Yeah, I am there too. So, yeah. Do you hear me?
Yeah, we do.
All right. So yeah. Me and Jordi were working on implementing the BIP 39 type of seed for master key in C-Lightning. C-Lightning can use can be recovered from the mnemonics, and we are going to implement a change in C-Lightning, which will generate the seeds with the mnemonic and print it out if the C-Lightning installation is fresh. The work is in progress. It's not fully ready yet, but we have our branches on our fork of C-Lightning, and hopefully very soon we'll be able to submit a pull request. We have an issue in which Jordi described the idea, because Jordi also came up initially with the idea. Thank you very much for that. Let me share the screen. Yeah, we are not able to do a proper demo of how it works, but we can show the issue and the idea and what we are coming up with. So Oh yeah, Jordi already linked it in the chat, but let me let me show. Do you see my screen right now?
Yes, we do.
All right. So yeah, here's the issue which Jordi created to describe the initial idea of using BIP 39 stuff. Yeah, and here are the links. We were brainstorming a bit how to implement that. Jordi came up with some nice diagrams and explanations of the overall idea, which we're mostly sticking to. Yeah.
Sorry,
Also,
I don't think we're all seeing your screen.
really? Okay. Okay, let me try to reshare. Okay.
There we
what
go.
about now? All right. Okay. So yeah, the issue is there. HSM secret generation for the seed phase. Yeah, if you are interested in our brainstorming about the details, you can check out the issue. But yeah, unfortunately, we don't have anything to present because yeah, the most of code is done, but not at a degree we can show any demoable stuff. Jordi, would you like to add anything?
What is that, like an agile chart?
No, that was just to ensure that because we're doing something here that is by now C-Lighting was already widely used in real world, and it was using BIP32 for the hierarchical deterministic wallets, but the entropy, like the first bits that it needs for generating the master key for the node, it was done at random using libsodium. So basically now what we do is add one more step before those random bits of entropy that the BIP32 uses that are derived from some mnemotechnic that comes from BIP39. But we have to do it in such a way that we don't break any other people who is already running a node of C-Lighting. So this chart was only to be sure that if people upgrade the node, the behavior is still exactly the same that it's right now for them. Basically, in the last post on the issue, the last comment, it's pretty well explained. I think that even for someone who didn't follow all the conversation can understand what's going on from there.
You mean your last comment here? Yeah, it's very descriptive. Thank you very much again for that.
So this issue is to be found on which repository?
In C-Lightning repository.
And just 3717, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Jordi created it on Friday before the HackSprint. Yeah.
Perfect. So also make sure all projects, so on the wiki, so you're still open to edit and maybe put some links there. So for everybody that maybe wants to check out all the projects, you find it at wiki.fulmo.org, and there you find then a link to the challenges, and there's a list of all the projects trying to describe themselves, and you find more background information if you want to check this out. So because as far as I can see, we kind of through the list. So maybe Cornelius, if you have anything you want to refer to or want to go somewhere maybe where you say, oh, maybe we combine this with that or something. So whatever you have on your mind, you're absolutely free to ask.
No, I really appreciate it. No, I've actually gotten to ask everything I wanted to during their presentation. So I really appreciate everybody taking the time to do this wrap up and to join. I can tell you that there's a lot of enthusiasts out there that don't really get to have this kind of exposure, and I'm really glad that you guys take the time to come together to explain this and that we can do this. So thank you very much to all of you.
Yeah. Maybe you can ask a little bit what is the best kind of way to approach such new ideas? What is always the best, like people presenting it on YouTube or like in podcasts? What is your kind of way to the best way to really kind of get people introduced to such an idea? Because as you see, sometimes it's quite technical.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely tough, right? It's difficult to get people into it, and I think that even before they come to the point of understanding or even beginning to understand any of this, you have to get them interested just in Bitcoin. So this is definitely, this is much more for the kind of person who's already into Bitcoin and wants to take that step into Lightning, but totally feels overwhelmed because, there's so many different, seemingly so many different pieces moving, so one of the I'd say that one of the biggest challenges that I get back from people is the user experience, right? And although it has gotten much better, it's still, when a person feels a shift, that's when they can tell that they're doing something different, and that's where they step out of their comfort zone. So the less often, we have people stepping out of their comfort zone to perform these tasks and to use these, to use all these different services, I think the easier it's going to be to explain it.
Yeah, so it's always something we try to also make sure during the hack sprints, because we have a lot of projects there that already kind of progressed. So oftentimes and already working on some very new progressive cases within the Lightning ecosphere. So but it still should be something for new people easy to onboard. Of course, you should have experience you should have experience at least in the basics kind of, and coding should at least be something you're not completely away from, but also you can join as from other kind of disciplines, like even like testing, giving feedback projects. There's a project and just, okay, I wanted over the weekend, I just want to try your stuff. I just heard it on the next on this podcast. We'll check a look if you're around on the next hack sprint, and I just want to try it out. And if I get it running on my machine, or if I could get this feature running, and help me out, and then provide this feedback exactly from this new user perspective. And this, I think, is the first step to optimize on the UX kind of stuff. I see Renee wants to add something, so here we go.
Yeah, so I want to add that the project that we did is, wait, I can actually turn on my camera. So I want to add that the project that I did together with Michael Siegler. He's a new PhD student at our university, and before the weekend he had never to do anything with the Lightning Network. And I mean, we together did some bold specifications and test code. So it's actually really easy to get going if you're a good computer scientist. Just ping somebody who is doing some work and work in a team together. I can say for sure that we had a much better progress together with Michael in comparison than if I had done it alone, because I had somebody who I could run by ideas and who would criticize my ideas and stuff like that, right? And Michael had a great learning curve. I think he learned more about Lightning in this 1 or 2 days than I had learned in the first month, where I was completely on my own trying to learn about the Lightning Network. So I just want to encourage people who know programming to reach out to people and say, hey, let's do a project together. Let's do some pair programming. Let's do some code reviews. Most people are very happy to have somebody to chat about ideas and have some people criticizing them.
Yeah, that's definitely something we want to do during the hack sprints. So bringing people together. So if you have any more idea how we can optimize the format, and make it easier for people to jump in, maybe get matched up with another project, let us know. We always try to keep the organizing mostly flat as possible, but we're always there to help out and to improve on that. So bringing new people in should be also one goal of those hack sprints, especially now. And this is really the feedback I got, and I really was really liking this, is that we were seeing that people, now that we're doing these online events, people were able to join even if they were not able before joining a hack day, and because now this is an online event, and this removes kind of the barriers to join it. But on the other side, when you just jump into it, you should also find a starting spot for you, and to make how we can make this easier. Jeff, if you have any ideas, and maybe when will the next hack sprint be? So always open for those kind of suggestions and to improve that.
Yeah, I mean, so we're looking to do this again in 5 weeks and maybe announce it a bit earlier this time. So this is happening right now. If you want to save the date for the weekend of June 13th and 14th, that's in 5 weeks. We can get together again. And regarding newcomers or more ideas, during the Lightning Hack Days, we always had some sessions for newcomers that explained the very basics, and we kind of decided against that for the Lightning Hack Sprints because we just wanted to see how it works. But we could reintroduce that and also have some sessions for newcomers to explain some basics again, or have a couple of sessions that do explain some broader ideas like DLCs or watchtowers and things like that. And that's also something we're trying to do with the Raspiblitz podcast, or a videocast or whatever you want to call it. Just trying to get some people that talk about more like high level / low level ideas and just keep the conversation going and keep like improving and keep a constant flow of knowledge for people who are interested.
Yeah, I completely agree, and thank you very much. And just to go back to your point you made about the higher level stuff, I think that sometimes what you guys miss that or maybe that you don't get to appreciate as much or don't feel as much appreciation for is that all the work that you guys are doing are making it possible so that everybody else can understand it easier, right? So it's because of it's because of all these finished ideas that you guys are doing and that people are able to then go and use it as freely and as easily as it can be used.
Thanks. This is definitely something we try to reach and come experiment stuff, try stuff out. What can be more performant? How can it be more accessible? This is exactly what kind of drives a lot of projects. But we need always people looking from the outside that we can assure a little bit more. So any idea again is very, very welcome, and to see that we can communicate this is very, very great. Thanks.
Cool. And again, thank you so much, by the way, for always organizing this. It's really amazing, Rootsal. I really appreciate it. And big shout out to Jeff, of course. I mean, shout out to all you guys, but you guys are the ones that make this possible. So we really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Well, thank you for taking part.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for having this great weekend.
I have the easiest part. I just get to listen to you guys talk about the amazing things that you're doing.
Yeah. And then again, I can remind everybody you're free to work between hack sprints. So this is really, the hack sprint is more like concentrated time than to push stuff forward, connect you with new people. So if you find anything interesting here, even if you just listen to the podcast, feel free to contact the people that on the projects. Always happy to connect here. And then if you got something going during the hack sprints, feel free to present it the next time. And very, very interesting to see you then next time in June.
Cool. Thank you so much. So do we have any other questions or comments before we wrap this up? All right, guys. Thank you so much for coming on and doing the wrap-up session for the hack sprint. And look forward to the developments that you guys are doing in the next 5 weeks.
Sure. Thank you for hosting.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
Thank you, everybody, for coming.
Bye. Have a great weekend. Rest of it.
Cheers.
You too.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
And call your mother. It's Mother Day.
That's right.
Bye-bye.
I hope everybody enjoyed this episode of the Fun with Bitcoin podcast. All of the details for all of these projects are going to be in the show notes, as well as anybody who gave me their Twitter handle. I desperately tried to get everybody's contact information from Twitter, but unfortunately not everybody wants to give that away. But either way, there'll be all the information about the projects on I believe it's the HackSprint or on the Fullmo wiki. So I'll post that in the show notes as well. Also look for the link to Swan Bitcoin if you're interested in doing some dollar cost averaging. So you can head on over to their website and check out what they offer. And of course, if you want to contact me, I'm at CoinIcarus on Telegram and Twitter. And if you want to send me an email, I am Coinicarus at funwithbitcoin.com. Thank you all for listening and catch you next time.